There are a million grid expert advisors on the MQL5 marketplace. Instead of spending thousands and thousands of dollars, I'm going to show you how to create your own without any code. So by the end of this video, you'll be able to create this exact strategy. All the files for this strategy will be downloadable below. Hi friends, if we haven't met, I'm Lisa, a data scientist turned algorithmic trader, and grid strategies have gained in popularity over the past few years because they have beautiful smooth equity curves like this one and this one. Before we begin, we need to understand what grid trading is. So in the yellow here is the movement of price. Let's say we decide to take a buy trade. So we take a buy trade right here, and we have a set take profit. If the price moves in our favor, great, that's it. That's the end of this particular group of trades. But what if price does not go in our favor? So here you can see in the yellow, the price is going down before it climbs back up. And our first trade again is a buy, and now price is going down. So at a set interval, which we call the grid, we place another buy trade with potentially increasing lot size. And then as price continues to go down, we place more and more trades, potentially with bigger and bigger lot sizes. The distance between each of these trades is what gives it the grid name, and the martingale aspect is the increasing lot size. And the martingale aspect is totally optional. Here you can see I'm increasing it by 200% every single time, but you can increase it by 150% only, or keep the lot size the same. It is totally up to you. But when you do increase the lot size by 200%, you find the retracement to get out in profit. See, all these trades, all you need is a small retracement to come out in profit for all these trades. Normally, you would have to need the price to go all the way back up to the top and above the original buy price to come out of profit. But this scenario allows just a tiny retracement to come out in profit. The obvious drawdown with this type of money management style is that you will get into big drawdowns as price moves against you. Now that we know how grid martingale strategies work, let's next take a look at the variables that we need to set up before we start designing this strategy. So here is the exact same chart again, now with the 5 variables that I need to define. So the first one is init size, which tells the expert advisor the lot size that I am starting off with. And in this scenario, I've got it as 0.1 lots. Next, we have the trade multiplier. So from the first trade to subsequent trades, I want this to be set to 200%, 2. So that's the variable called trade multiplier. Next, we've got the grid step in pips. So the distance between the first, second, third, fourth, this is the gap, otherwise known as the grid. Next, we've got our take profit amount in money, which I'm going to set to a small amount like $1. And finally, the last number is going to be the initial magic number. Because in strategy quant, we are using no code, we need to set a magic number for the first trade. And then afterwards, we're going to add 1 to every single trade down below. So each trade has a different unique magic number. These are the 5 variables that need to be set up and that will be configurable every time you start the expert advisor. I also need to have some temporary variables that won't be visible to the viewer. These are just working variables so they can hold data behind the scenes to do the calculations for us. And the first one is trade size, which is the lots of the next trade. You've got previous magic number, next magic number, and the location of the next grid. For the entry and exit criteria, I'm going to keep it very simple for this example. If there are no open trades, I'm just going to place a buy trade. And for exit, if it hits $1 in profit, we're going to close all our trades. If you're a good trader, you might want to check out Darwinex Zero. If you're not familiar with them, they are a platform designed to reward good traders, and you can get a simulated 100K account to trade and earn money from your trading. Currently, there are a total of 4 different ways to make money on Darwinex. In silver stage, you can get between 30 and 375K in allocation, and you get to keep it for 3 months. in gold stage, where you can receive up to 500K and keep it for 6 months. And then there's investor capital, which you can get into the millions and millions of dollars. And finally, the 100K permanent allocation, which consists of the instant allocation and the performance-based allocation. And these 4 different options are stackable. So you can get silver, gold, investor capital, and permanent allocation all in the one account. And I've personally been trading with Darwinex for a year and a half. I've received multiple payouts from them and made it to Darwinia Gold. If you're a trader and want to make some extra money, then I have a discount code below if you decide to sign up. Thanks Darwinex for sponsoring this video. The tool I'll be using today is Strategy Quant. They also have a 14-day free trial, and if you decide to buy it in the future, there is a link to a discount below. I've got my Strategy Quant loaded up already. To get started, we need to select the Algo Wizard on the bottom left and select Create New Strategy. Give it a strategy name. I'm going to use the full editor and press select. This is the default screen, and before I start creating my first rule, I'm going to create my variables. See, there's nothing right now. So first of all, let's go and create our magic number, which I will call init magic number, and this will be an integer, which is a round number. I'm going to call it 1,000. So my first trade will be with a magic number 1,000. The second one will be 1,001, 1,002, etc., etc. I'm going to allow the expert advisor user to modify this code. The next variable is going to be called grid step pips. Again, an integer. Let's give it 10 pips. And the next one is going to be called init size. Now this one is going to be a double. And if you're not a programmer, a double is basically a decimal, so 0.1. See the difference between a double where there's a decimal point and int, which is a whole number. Okay, I'm going to continue adding the rest of the variables offline. That is all the variables created. I can now close this window and save my file. I'm now ready to create my first rule. So select add first rule, and we're going to go with an if then, and instead of on bar, we're going to use on every single tick and press add. Let's give our rule a logical name. So I'm going to call this first trade. We want the strategy to place a trade when there are no open trades. So we're going to use market positions count. Direction is long, and we're going to use any magic number. So if the market position is greater than 0, we're going to change this to an equal sign. So if there are currently no open positions, it is going to place our first trade. So let's enter at market. We're going to use the current symbol. We're going to go long, and instead of trading at 0.1 lots, we're going to let the user select the first lot size, which is init size, the variable that we created before. And for our magic number, we're going to call it init magic number. And this first trade will have a profit target. So we do want to set it in pips, and instead of having 50 pips, we want to be able to use our variable. But our variable does not appear here because our variable is actually a integer, and this is looking for a decimal. So go up to your variables and change the grid step pips from integer to double. And now it should appear here, our grid step pips. Now that our trade has been successfully opened, we need to update our 4 working variables. So I'm going to add a sign variable, and we're going to update our previous magic number to a integer, and that will be set to init magic number. We need to also update the trade size, so the next trade knows what size it needs to be. So now we're going to need a multiplication, and we're going to multiply the first variable, which is the init size, which is a number, and it's going to multiply by the trade multiplier. Now we need to define the next magic number, and the next magic number is going to be created by using a addition formula, and that is going to be using the initial magic number, and we're going to add a number of 1. So the first trade will be 1000, and the second trade will be 1001, the third trade will be 1002, and so on and so on. And lastly, we need to define the next grid value, which again is going to be a formula. And now, because we are doing longs only for our strategy, we're going to use the ask minus the grid step pips. But we can't just use it like that. We have to convert it from pips to price. So we are going to convert the grid step pips, which I believe is an integer. Nope. Grid step pips, confirm. And there you go. A quick recap. So our first trade is opened only when there are no current open trades. We are going to go long only, and we're going to use the initial lot size using the initial magic number, and we're going to have a profit target of the grid. And then we're going to update our 4 variables: the previous magic number, the trade size, the next magic number, and the next grid. That is the complete logic for the first trade. Next, we need to create another rule. Again, it's going to be if then on bar tick, and we're going to create this rule for the take profit. And this one is going to be very simple. We're going to check that the account equity minus account balance is greater than the take profit money amount. Now we need to add a formula here, so I'm going to go with minus. So this condition says if the account equity minus the account balance is greater than the take profit money, then we're going to close all our trades. Close all positions, current, long, and any magic number. And that is all for the take profit logic. We have to create one more rule to open their second, third, fourth, and subsequent trades. The logic is actually very similar to the first trade logic, so I'm going to duplicate this, drag it onto the end, and I'm going to call this next trade. Instead of having no open trades, now this logic is only activated when there is greater than 0 trades, and we need to add a second condition, less than or equal to, because we need to check if the ask is less than or equal to the which was that number, the next grid. Instead of the initial lot size, we're going to use the trade size variable, and instead of the initial magic number, we're going to use the next magic number, and we're going to turn off the profit target. The next 3 variables just need slight tweaking. So the previous magic number is now the next magic number. The trade size is going to be, instead of initial trade size, we're going to use trade size. The next magic number now turns into next magic number, and the formula for the next grid remains the same. That's all you have to do. We've defined 3 different rules: the first trade, the take profit, and the next trade. I'm going to save this again to file. Now I want to download this code so I can trade it on the MetaTrader platform. Up the top, go to source code, go to the source code tab, make sure you've got MQL4. You can also download it to MQL5. I'm going to go with MQL4 and press save to file. Over in my MetaTrader platform, I've got the Grid Martingale Expert Advisor already loaded. Let's double check the properties. We're going to use $10,000 as a deposit. With our inputs, the magic number is going to be 1,000. That's fine. Our grid step pips should be 10. Initial lot size of 0.1. The trade multiplier of 2. And we're going to take $1 in profit. Press OK. And I'm going to trade it on the Aussie New Zealand just for the past few weeks. I'm going to have it on visual mode so we can see exactly what is happening in the screen. And we are off. Let's just resize this screen here a little bit so it's a bit easier to see. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So we've already taken our first trade at 0.1 lots, and the take profit up here is about 10 pips. Let's speed that up a little bit. Well, okay. It's already gone and bought and sold quite a number of times. I'm going to speed it up a little bit to see if we can catch it when it has a few open trades. Okay, cool, great. Now we've got a perfect example of the first trade of 0.1 lots. The second trade is 0.2 lots. The third trade is 0.4 lots. So it looks like it is working well. And if I zoom in a little bit more, we can see the trades are being closed off in a group. So this trade and this trade closed off at the same time. These 4 trades closed off at the same time. So it is working the logic. Let's speed it up a little bit more and see how many trades it opens up. So this one down here, we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here is a group of 6 trades, but the retracement to come out in profit is just about 10 pips. That is the beauty of Grid Martingale. Let's speed it up all the way to the end until today, which shouldn't take long. These are long only trades because I've only coded up the long direction. So in this example, we are not trading the short direction at all. And that is the end. Let's take a look at the chart. And exactly like how I expected a typical Grid Martingale Expert Advisor to go, there is a big drawdown here initially when we took about 4 or 5 trades. The rest of the time, the drawdowns haven't been too bad. And we also see about 4 trades over here, which caused, I'm guessing is that trade here, which caused a pretty big drawdown there. In terms of results, we made $305 in net profit with a drawdown of $634. And if we check the profits, let's look at the first trade. I can see it did make $1. And then the next group of 3 trades, it made another $1, bringing our balance to $2. And then each time we're going up by $1 every time we close a group of trades. Now we're up to $4. It's great to see that with just a few lines of code, we've managed to create a Grid Martingale Expert Advisor that has traded successfully with our planned logic on the Aussie New Zealand over the past few days. Now, this is a cherry-picked strategy because I have chosen a period where the Aussie New Zealand has been trending sideways over the past few weeks. This is definitely not financial advice or a recommendation to trade it this way. You can definitely blow up accounts doing this. This video was just to show you how you can create a Grid Martingale Expert Advisor without any code. So the next step is to add rules for the entry signal instead of entering randomly like I have. If I went too fast in this video, you will be able to download the files below. Creating this strategy manually took a bit of effort. If you want to see how to get Strategy Quant to use machine learning to create low-risk strategies for you automatically without any code, then watch this video right here. Thanks. Bye.